All right, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, is the Master Reviewer back again with another review, and today we are doing a review for Tire Season 2. That is right, Tire Season 3 just came out today on Netflix, and so I did manage to rewatch all of Season 2, and so next is going to be Season 3, which is fun. And yeah, this season is twice as long as Season 1. I don't really have any other background to give other than that, so let us just begin, starting off with the plot. So the plot of the season is that Will is continuing to try to make the Valley Forge Auto Center is doing pretty successful now ever since they switched to the model of buying tires at cost and then basically just upcharging customers for their services basically when they go to buy the cheap tires basically. So yeah, the season is, at first, Will is trying to expand the company. His father, John, doesn't really want to expand because he is looking to retire, but Will is very ambitious and wants to expand the brand, basically. And so a big part of the season is that you have Shane's father, Phil, who played by Thomas Hayden Church. He is a new character that gets introduced, and he ends up buying the Valley Forge Auto Center in order to help out Will with his ambitions of growing the brand, basically. So yeah, overall, I'll give that wasn't like too in-depth of an explanation, but overall the plot, I'm going to give it another 4 to 5. I would say I like this plot just like I liked it in the first season. The characters themselves, Will is still entertaining as the kind of the head of the Valley Forge Auto Center, the one that is trying to very much make the business profitable, and it's doing well at the beginning, and so he's the one that wants to expand it. I think Will is still very entertaining. Shane, he ends up getting a girlfriend, not exactly a girlfriend, but there is a character introduced, Kelly, so a lot of the season with him is focused on his relationship with her, as well as his relationship with his dad, Phil, and so I thought that was pretty good for Shane, still entertaining as usual. Kyla and Cal, they're still like kind of background characters, like they're part of the main cast, but they are still just not as prominent as Will and Shane are, where I think Cal specifically, he ends up buying from the Italians, he ends up buying a car that is not, it was kind of false advertised on the car, so it is much more broken down than he bought it for, so he ends up like throughout the season kind of repairing it and stuff until you get towards the end of the season where this guy that they brought in order to help promote sales for the shop, Ron Dobbins, he ends up drunk driving the car and breaking it, so Shane, as an apology, he ends up he comes up with this idea of fleet accounts where basically I think the Italians as well as other businesses, they go to Valley Forge Auto Center as their exclusive repair shop, basically, I'm pretty sure, and Valley Forge gives them 10% off if they go to them exclusively, and so that's like their new business model that they come up with. So Shane's also like, he's kind of portraying like that he is capable of being a manager, so that like this season, I think it was this season, this season they kind of started hinting that Shane might end up becoming manager after Will ends up, I think, getting promoted from general manager to something else, I'm pretty sure, so yeah, Shane's role in this season was good. Will was good. Kyla, she didn't do much, except I think she was just kind of, I think she and Cal might have like a relationship being developed, and so that is all right. Dave is still entertaining, I'll say. He feels a lot more pathetic for this season. He kind of realizes that a lot of people don't like him, and so that was, I guess, interesting development with his character. Still entertaining, though, definitely. Yeah, a bit more of John, where John had some good episodes, which were fun, and John being Will's dad. Besides that, let's see here who else. There were some other new characters that were introduced. Kelly, she was fine. Interesting, I guess, relationship drama between her and Shane. Ryan was a worker at True Thread Tires that he ends up becoming friends with Will, but then Will ends up kind of, he buys like a huge purchase from True Threads, but then when Will's father doesn't approve the loan, then he ends up having to cancel the order in front of Ryan and like this whole convention that they were at, and so Ryan kind of gets embarrassed in front of everyone. So yeah, Ryan, interesting character, I guess. He's like a good dude, and he is friends with, like, he becomes friends with Will, but at the same time Will kind of ends up like not betraying him necessarily, but like definitely disappointing Ryan to a large extent, where now Ryan is kind of like, he describes it as him being the Joker to Will's Batman, except he said he was the good guy. So yeah, anyway, so Ryan was good. There was Pete, which is kind of like, I think he's the friend of Dave from True Threads, but then he also, like, they get into a falling out, so that was interesting. I think there is Dave's wife as well, who is in the season. I'm pretty sure she's introduced this season, so she was also a fun character, I guess. Yeah, overall the characters were still pretty entertaining as usual, as it was in the first season, I'll say, so I will go, and I did like the developments with a lot of the characters, so yeah, good new characters, good characters that we had from the first season. I am going to give a solid 7.5. I'm going to say very good characters that I liked. In terms of the settings, yeah, pretty much all of it was at Valley Forge Auto Center, and there was one episode in episode 6 where they did go to a convention. The convention area was pretty good, I would say. But I did mostly like the Valley Forge Auto Center is still a good setting. They had like a bit of a party there, which was Revolutionary War themed, so that was pretty cool to see. So overall, I think I'm going to give the setting. I forgot what I gave it last season, but I think I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'll say pretty good setting that I liked. In terms of the comedy, this is still definitely entertaining. They got a lot of good jokes here in the season. Double the length of the first season, so it just meant double the amount of. Not necessarily that the comedy was like twice as good, but definitely had more episodes to be able to deliver good comedic lines. However, this season it does feel like they are trying to take it. Last season they did have definitely some like more serious moments, and they did have like stuff like they were definitely trying to tell like a serious story. And here it does feel like they did have like they had the comedic side to it, but there were also like genuine important like moments with character development and like serious stuff going on. But still, they managed to balance it out pretty well with the comedy, I would say, as well. So comedy, I'm going to give it I'm not sure if it was as funny as the first season, because I think that the first season just, again, I think it leaned a bit more into the comedic aspect, where this season it is kind of still, it's leaning into the comedic aspect, but as well as they are trying to tell, like there are still some more serious moments. So, but even so, I would say that the comedy, I think I gave it like a 8 out of 10 in the first season. I think I would probably give it like I think honestly still like a 7.5 to an 8, I would say, between very good and great comedy. And I think I'm going to be a bit harsh. I'm going to say a 7.5 because, again, they did focus a bit more on they sacrificed a bit of the comedic stuff for, I think, a bit more of the serious nature of it, but still I would say it was very good comedy, I would say. In terms of the worst thing was, I'm not really sure. I don't really have a worst thing in mind. I'm trying to think of anything specific, and nothing is really coming to mind. So I am just going to reuse the worst score, which I gave the settings. And so actually maybe I'll say maybe Shane's development with Kelly, because I should have probably said spoiler by the way at the start of the video, but at this point I think if you're this video has spoilers in it. So Shane and Kelly get into like a bit of a falling out, and it's not like directly Shane's fault, but then Kelly ends up dating. It's like Shane thinks that Kelly, this coworker of Kelly, wants to be with her, and then so that leads to Shane and Kelly end up breaking up, and then Kelly actually does go to be with the other coworker. So that whole aspect, it felt like kind of not the best, I would say. So I'll say that was my least favorite part. Even so, it was fine. It was like, I don't know, I'll say it was like a 5 to a 5.5. I'll be generous. I'll say it was decent, I would say. But yeah, that aspect, I guess, just wasn't my favorite part of the season. Just didn't like it as much as some of the other stuff, I'll say. Felt kind of awkward, I guess, maybe. In terms of the best thing, I will say that the best thing was probably, I'll reuse the score for the plot. I did think that, this is still I still very much like the plot of this show. It is entertaining, and it makes me excited for season 3. I want to see how this develops and continues. And so another 4 to 5 for the plot, I would say, is the best thing. That is all of these scores, so I'm going to do the calculations. So King Crimson. All right, so it ends up coming out to about exactly a 7.25, which would be between a 7 to a 7.5, which would be between pretty good and very good. And I'm pretty sure I gave season 1 a 7.5. I called it very good. And I think I would probably also just give this one as well a 7.5. I think that this is still another very good season. Hopefully season 3 will continue, maybe even increase the momentum. And so we will get maybe to an 8 in the next season, but we will have to wait and see, or I'll have to wait and see it. So so that is, overall, another 7.5, very good season, and that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video game stories, anime, manga, web series, anything that you want me to review, leave it in the comments and I will maybe possibly check it out. But that said, that is pretty much all there is to it, so let's leave it at that.